So first question is, okay, to love life, but what is life? That's the first question. So here you can see how the life basically is beginning. So you see it's a bunch of cells. So it's a zygote. When you ask to the science, what is life? I don't know if some of you found an answer, a correct one. There is no answer. I mean, science does not know yet what life is. Nevertheless, science can only see that life is existing, how it begins, how it develops, and so on. And it's very interesting here because you see at the beginning it's one cell for the combination of the part of the mother and part of the father. And then after fecundation, okay, this cell is dividing and dividing and growing. At the beginning, it's like stem cells, all equal. This stem cell has nevertheless some particularity. It has a DNA, which is a result of a combination of the father's and the mother's DNA, but which is not equal. So it's a different DNA. It's a unique DNA. And then you see of a sudden this multiplying and development of the cells is taking shape. You see, this image is, I think, only a couple of weeks after, taking in 3 dimensions, also in different functions. You have the bones, organs, the skin, whatever. And after 9 months, you have such a wonderful baby. So this is basically the beginning of the life. You all did go through this, isn't it? You remember? How we did it, we don't know, but we did it. We did it all. So if we try to analyze this organogenesis, again, what is the answer of science? They don't know. They don't know what is the shape, what is the pattern, which is followed to ensure this. Of course, the mother, through alimentation and so on, brings the elements which are needed for this, but it's growing in a very particular, specific way. For instance, the child can be male or female, so it cannot be a copy-paste of the mother, otherwise it would not be like this. So there is something which is driving all this. So this is when you analyze from the second principle of the thermodynamics, this so-called entropy. Normally, it should be the other way around. You have the disorder is always increasing. Okay, and here we see exactly the opposite. It's the order which is increasing. So this, according to this second law, principle of thermodynamics, is only possible when you bring some energy. So the energy comes partly from the mother, as we have just said, and partly also from biological organizing model, as said by Hernán Guimaraes Andrade, for instance, or by Claude Bernard, the famous French specialist who said an organizing model. And this is then brought by the soul, the spirit which is incarnating in this body. That is really bringing the energy. So it's very interesting because science so far is not, science mainstream is not considering the soul. The paradigm today is still materialistic. It's not spiritualistic. It's changing. There are some initiatives like a Manifesto for a Post-Materialist Science and some other initiatives showing, the book that was co-authored by Umberto, Science of Life After Death, correct? Voilà. And a French specialist in physics also is saying there must be some information coming from outside of our four quadridimensional space, space-time, or energy coming from the vacuum. They are using some epithets and so on, some way of thinking, of saying, but slowly but surely they will converge to the spiritualist paradigm, because it's really the only one which is capable to explain a little bit better what life is. So this comes from the natural laws, which are God's law, basically. Natural laws of nature, or divine laws. It's three expressions to tell the same thing. Okay, so there is the book third of the Spirit's book is only about this. And if we go to the Spirit book, question 614, you see this clear definition. And then on the question a little bit late, further, 617, you see out of these natural laws, there are some which are regulating the movement and working of inert matter. These are the physical laws, and studying them belongs to the domain of science. Okay, so this is the physics, our quadridimensional space-time in which we are, I would not say even living, incarnated at least. And so the laws of matter, basically. So you have quantum mechanics, you have biology, you have a lot of things into this, but seeing only this material aspect of it. And then, so this was 160, how much now? 667 years ago. The Spirit said, others specifically concern humans and their relations with God and their fellow beings, encompassing the rules of the life of the body and the soul. These are the moral laws. Okay? And this second part, I would say even biology, they entered a little bit in studying what is life and so on, but again with some blinds, they're only seeing the material aspect out of it. Okay? But there is something much more than just this four-dimensional physical Einsteinian form of matter, as I would say. There is much more. We, in a human being, in a living being in general, there is much more than just some bunch of cells governed by a random biochemical reaction. Okay. Now, okay, so how can we, in front of all this, it's something coming from God. We are even not yet understanding. We are so small in front of all these things. We must be very humble, because we don't know. We know very little of all what is existing. How can we then decide so quickly, so easily about all these things, societal decisions like, I don't know, abortion or euthanasia or questions like this, if we have the vision only from the physical paradigm, from the materialist paradigm? We are much, much more than that. And so now we go a little bit to the second question. What is life? Now let's see what is love. So this is a little bit more difficult to define. And I took, I like Divaldo Franco in one of his speeches. He tells, look, you take the gospel or the Bible, it's thick like this with very, very thin pages and very, very small letters. Wow, it takes ages to read all this. But he said, don't worry, you can summarize it in one single word, which is love. And example, in Matthew 7:12, you see, in everything, do unto others what you would like, what you would have them to do unto you. So this is really the genius of Jesus, bringing this. What is the criteria of what I should do to the other? Simply what you would like the other to do unto you. So then a lot of people say, yes, okay, but this is gospel, it's Christianity, and so on. It's not something which is universal. Okay, so let's look a little bit somewhere else. In Buddhism, for instance, Udanavarga, sorry for the spelling, 5:18. Do not offend others as you would not want them, or as you do not want to be offended. So it's not exactly the same, but it's looking like, isn't it? So Jesus said, do to the other what you would like the other to do unto you. And here he's saying, don't do to the other what you wouldn't like the other to do unto you. So it's a little bit, but it's very, very close, isn't it? So you see, Buddhism and Jesus are giving a good definition of love. Quran, none of you are true believers until you love for your brothers what you love for yourself. Not bad, isn't it? Much closer to the one of Jesus, isn't it? Well, he came after Jesus. Mahomet recognized Jesus as a prophet, so maybe he was influenced. Nevertheless, he agreed because he puts it very clearly in the Quran. Judaism. So now we step back a little bit, a couple of in the Hillel Talmud Sabbath 31a. What is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. Confucianism, Anacletus 15:23. Do not do to others what you do not want them to do to you. You see, there is more space, so there is more. Taoism. I will not spell the reference, I'm sorry. So, regard your neighbor's gain as your own gain and your neighbor's loss as your own loss. And the last one I have here, because it's probably not exhaustive, Jainism. One should treat all creators in the world as one would like to be treated. So you see, moral laws are universal. Nobody has been privileged. God is not giving privilege to anyone. All these people came and said the same thing, are part of the same spiritual team, who came at different time, different cultures, different language, and so on, to bring all the same message about love. So here we have something which is universal. So it's not, sometimes it's a little bit painful for me. The spiritist, he must be Christian, or good spiritist is a good Christian. And this you can find as it is in Kardec. Kardec wrote it like this, but it's much more. It's much more. Again, we should remove our blind. Jesus was a wonderful example, but it's not the only one. Some people are even saying that Jesus reincarnated in some other places before being Jesus to bring the same teachings, and even if it wasn't Jesus, it's all spirit of the same team, so they could only say the same to everyone. So we have here a very solid universal reference of what is love. Okay, so then let's listen a little bit to an author I like a lot. What are today's problem? What are the problems today? And unfortunately, we must say that selfishness is going very well. We have seen it recently in France. We are in the middle of it. It's really terrible what's happening. But okay, this is democracy. The people are saying, voting, and we must respect the vote of the peoples. But Léon Denis saw very well at the root cause of the most of the problems we have today is selfishness, is the brother of pride, and proceeds from the same causes. When we speak pride here, I had a little chat with Dan. It's excessive pride, let's say so, because in France there are two words, orgueil, which is excessive pride, and fierté, which is, let's say, a more acceptable pride. Okay, so just that we understand ourselves well. It is one of the most terrible diseases of the soul. You see, it's a disease of the soul. The greatest obstacle to social improvements. Alone, it neutralizes, it makes sterile almost all the efforts of man towards God. Also, fighting it must be the constant concern of all the friends of progress, all the servants of justice. So, I think Sonia told about inner reform. I prefer moral reform. Okay, let's work on this, because selfishness, you see all what's happening. Sonia showed also some very nice, sad pictures, when you see all these people on the boats and so on. You have seen the movie No Solar, now this morning you were all here, or maybe not our friend. Sorry, thank you for having... did you see what they did? How they received the people, all these souls coming after the First World War? Like this. What are we doing today? What are we doing? We, me too. Are we doing really like that? And with the climate, and you see, these are some people from Afghanistan, from Syria. There is war, they have no school, no hospital, no work. So people which are desperate, ready to die for having a different life than what they have where they are. And look the problems we are making for them. So let's change. Let's follow the example of what we have seen on North Solar, because without this, there is no sustainable future for humanity on Earth. I think Sonia also showed it very, very clearly. With the climate change, so there are a lot of effects shown by Sonia. But one effect will be heating. There will be some areas in the world where the temperature will be too high and it will be lethal for the human being. And this concerns 1 billion humans at least. But we are 8 billion humans on Earth, correct? So 8 billion, 1 billion in difficulty. So this means that 7 people should admit one more, just to helping him to survive and to become better. What's the problem? If you have space for 7 or food for 7, you will have food for 8, isn't it? What's the problem? So let's really go for it. Let's change completely our mind. Let's fight really this selfishness and be much more open, live more lovingly for having a sustainable future for our world. And love, I like very much how to change the world. And I give you just a couple of seconds to analyze it. And this is exactly what is happening. Love is contagious. When we are showing love, you see the guy alone here, shouted like hell, and then continuing, persisting, and then you see, poor guy kicked out. And at the end, even the last one, resisting, will also change. So let's follow this image. Let's follow love will save the world, as per Léon Denis. Its heat will melt the ice of doubt, of selfishness, of hatred. It will soften the hardest, the most refractory hearts. And my last one is the same as last year, because it's really the favorite one. Out of charity, which means benevolence, indulgence, and forgiveness, there is no salvation. I would say even more, there is no sustainable future for mankind on this earth. We should not forget that we need this earth to progress at our progression level. And I like very much to see Greta Thunberg and blah, 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 blah. She's hitting quite strongly, and she's right to do it. Well, what is this young lady to give lesson to us? Okay, but she's right. She's right. But what we should also know is her grandson will be us. We reincarnate. So whatever we do now, all the hints that Sonia showed as well, if we don't do it, we will then have to live with all the consequences of what we have done. So that's it, basically. Thank you so much.